Hey you guys, welcome back. Here's another training video. This one is going to be a little bit more specific now that we've covered a lot of the basics with you guys. This one is going to be talking about how to do a short leg cast. However, this is going to be a short leg Gore-Tex or water resistant, waterproof type cast. And we're going to be doing this on a teenage sized leg. And let me go ahead and show you the materials that I've laid out here. So pretty easy stuff. A couple pairs of scissors, the ones that I'm going to use by the patient, the ones that I'm going to use as I need to adjust for my materials. You've got safety tape, which we've talked about in previous videos for the waterproof cast. It's okay. It's not a big deal. No, it's okay. Anyway, we're going to do safety tape on the waterproof material. We'll go over that again. Some fiberglass to make the cast. And of course, this particular video, we're going to be using this product. I have 2 or 3 other products I use, but I favor this one. So here we go into the short leg waterproof cast. So as you've seen in previous videos with the Gore-Tex material, the water resistant material, there is a smooth side that goes against the skin, and there is a sticky side that lays across the top so that it adheres to itself. What I've done is I've prepared 3 strips to go on the bottom portion of the foot, since it is going to be a weight bearing cast. This will keep it, number one, nice and padded, and it'll also give it a little bit more strength on the bottom in the hopes that hopefully, and I'll talk about how we get the water out from a waterproof cast on a short leg, but in the event that they're not able to get all the water out, this will still keep it nice and strong and reinforced. So I'm going to go ahead and start wrapping that now. And what I'll do, like you've seen in other videos, I'll lay the padding on nice and comfortable. I won't force it tight at all. As I'm going, I'll keep this centered. And again, every now and then I'll check the patient's positioning, make sure she's maintaining a nice right angle since it is a weight-bearing cast. And what we'll do as we start to work our way towards the bend here, you can do 2 things, 2 little tricks. You can fold this, however, if you fold it, it's going to collect little puddles of water. What I favor, I like to put a little split in there on both sides. And then you can do the little dog ears, push down one end, push down the other end on both, and then you can come around and wrap it with the material you're working with, like so. Don't worry about this guy, we're going to talk about this in a minute. And you can see here how it'll hold in place. And then these little guys here, since I'm working with a narrow ankle, you just kind of customize it to the patient. Again, cut and fold, and it presents with a really, really nice little wrap there. And we'll go ahead and proceed further down the leg once I start coming around this. No reason to really, really bulk up the heel too much because we've already put those 3 extra strips there for reinforcing. So I'll stop here, we'll mat it down, and we'll start wrapping the entire leg, and then we'll pick up from there so you can see the finished product. So as you can see, we've gone ahead and finished the padding all the way down the length of the leg. Again, 3 to 4 fingers from the popliteal space is a nice stopping point, so when she comes to bend her knee, it won't rub on the back of her leg. Her toes, you'll see here in a moment, I'll show you in the finished product, her toes will be visible. However, for the moment, I've extended this padding, this Gore-Tex, past her toes because we're not actually finished making the cast yet, and you'll see why in a moment. From this point forward, we're going to go ahead and put on the safety tape, which we've also discussed in previous videos. The safety tape is required on the edges, or excuse me, in the line that you're going to be cutting with the cast saw to remove. So that nice right angle, you're going to want to put safety tape. What I like to do, this is just me and this isn't textbook, I like to run the tape from one side under the heel all the way to the other side. We all know that we're not going to cut here. However, I have found working primarily with pediatrics and teenagers, particularly the very, very athletic teenagers, I have found that by putting that, just continuing the safety tape at the heel, you're not only reinforcing the strength of the heel, but you're giving it just a little bit more padding rather than bulking up the Gore-Tex so that you're hopefully ensuring the stability of your cast. And then what I do, the other trick I do, is the same thing. We know that we're going to cut down this line medial and lateral. So what I like to do is I like to do the same exact thing. Start it on one side, and rather than cut 2 strips, I just continue it around the back of the heel, just like so. And again, nobody tells me I have to do this, but I like to do it because it's just that little extra layer that you're offering the patient, and it really doesn't affect anything negatively at all. So now you have a nice right angle, Gore-Tex padded, safety tape lined interior of the cast. I'll go ahead and lock down the edges of the tape. This does 2 things. It locks down the edges of the tape, and it creates that little extra bumper on the edge so the fiberglass doesn't rub on the patient's leg, or foot in this case. And then again, that part that I left exposed right there, I'm going to come and catch with the extra layer of Gore-Tex I'm putting there. And that's going to be really nice and padded for the bottom of the toes. It's going to, as far as patient comfort, she's going to really appreciate that. So then, now that we're done with that business, you can see that product there. And we'll go ahead and start laying the fiberglass on next. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and put the first 2 layers of fiberglass on, which you've seen in numerous videos I've made for you already. We just lay it on there very, very comfortably. It never, ever should be put on tight at all. On the Gore-Tex, you'll see that I leave at least 1 full layer of cells exposed, so that way the edge of the fiberglass doesn't make contact with the skin. And again, you've seen this before, going around the bends on an elbow or on a heel or on an ankle. You just come around nice and comfortably. Again, she's got the 3 strips that I made for her to reinforce the bottom. Not only does she have the 3 strips, but we went ahead and just did that extra little added thing with the safety tape. So now you're basically creating a nice waterproof, water resistant, short leg cast with with like 2 extra creature comforts for the patient. And the fact of the matter is if you're working with a patient that's very active, it's really going to benefit you as much as it's going to benefit them, as far as them not returning. The parent asked me a question while we were in between clips here. How about if it starts to stink, or if it gets itchy, or if it gets sweaty or dirty, or et cetera, et cetera. The fact of the matter is, if this thing gets itchy, if it gets sweaty, if it gets stinky or dirty or whatever, soiled, you just put water in it. Just put water in it. You just have to remember to whatever water goes in, you want to try to get the majority of that water to come out, which we're going to talk about that trick in just a few minutes. This is the first layer. All I'm doing is shaping and making sure everything's okay, and we're going to move on to the second layer in just 1 sec. So you'll notice I'm using a different color for the second layer of fiberglass. I'm doing that for 2 reasons. 1, the patient wants purple on the top surface, and 2, I want you to be able to distinguish between what I did initially and what I'm doing in the end here. Again, you can see I'm leaving a nice layer of padding there so this doesn't rub on her. Also too, we talked about a second ago about getting the water in. You have to get the water out. If this was a Gore-Tex short arm cast, all you would have to do is just shake the water out inside the tub when you were done showering. You cannot do that with this because of the right angle. It's impossible. So either A, she would have to lay in this position and let the water drain out the long side for like a half an hour, or B, the one that I tend to recommend to the patient, is when they are in the shower and they're done showering and they've gotten water in there and soap and shampoo and they've rinsed everything out, but there's still water collecting at the bottom here. I recommend to patients one of 2 things. Either A, they stay in the tub, and I'll just show you real quick. They stay in the tub, lean over the tub, and have their foot hanging inside the tub, and just kind of tap their leg and shake the water out like so for about 5-10 minutes. Or if they're laying in bed, like the position she's in now, she can lay in bed like so, let her leg hang off the edge of the bed, have the parent put a towel down on the floor, and while they're on their phone or they're on their video games or whatever, she can keep tapping for 5-10 minutes and tap all that water out. If they've tapped, if they tapped and tapped and tapped, and they still say that the cast is wet, then I usually recommend to the parents to get a hairdryer, put it on the cool air setting, and blow cool air through the toes to make sure that they get the moisture out from around the heel. If they are unable to get the majority of the moisture out from the heel, what will end up happening is you'll have a cast fail. And by cast fail, I mean you'll end up having a crack in the heel where the water weakened the fiberglass, or unfortunately they'll have a little bit of skin maceration issues, which they'll complain about to the parent, and the parent will of course bring them back and you'll have to do a cast repair. So we're almost done with the purple, and then we'll move on to the next section in just one sec. So as you can see, this is our completed Gore-Tex or waterproof or aqua cast, whatever you want to call it, short leg cast. And again, you can see we've accomplished a nice right angle. The only thing we didn't discuss, I'm going to put I'm going to give her a shoe. A couple things we have to discuss. When you're putting the shoe, when you're doing the shoe on the patient, you have to make sure to let them know that when they're wearing the shoe, the cast has to be dry. They take the shoe off, of course, when they're in the shower. And then when they come out of the shower and they've done, they're shaking their cast, tapping their cast, blowing cool air into their cast, the bottom of the cast should be as close to dry as possible, because if it's not, whatever moisture's trapped in here will seep through the pores and it'll end up in the sole of the shoe. And then what ends up happening is you have double problem. You have moisture that's trying to weaken the cast from the inside, and you have moisture that's soaked into the sole of the shoe that's weakening the cast from the outside. So make sure to let the patient know this has to be relatively dry before they put the shoe back on. That's kind of important. And then the other thing too, which we'll go more into when it comes to removing the short leg Gore-Tex cast, is if you don't have the safety tape available to you, talking about using the rip sticks in place of the safety tape, which would be placed in like so between the cast and the skin. And then of course you use the cast saw to go down that line. But we will talk about that more so when we go to remove the Gore-Tex cast. Thanks for watching. Have a good day.